and register. Now, a part of the Grace Gathering on March 15th to 16th is we will have a panel on that Friday with different women sharing their stories. And as we've been doing each Thursday since the beginning of November, is we have been interviewing different women to share their stories leading up to the gathering. This evening, I have the awesome opportunity to interview Tiffany Vinson, and she's going to talk to us about how she's been able to thrive against the odds. So I'm going to kick it off and turn it over to you, Tiffany, to tell us about yourself, to tell us about your business, your family, all the things you want to share.
Okay, well, thank you first off for having me, and to the women who are a part of this amazing program, I thank you all. This is such a great place, a platform where women can come together, and so to be on the fifth episode of this is just a great honor, and I greatly appreciate it. I also like to thank my cousin Miriam, who also introduced me to you, and so to the ladies, women of grace, thank you. Um, a little bit about myself: I was born in Macon, Georgia. Um, Born there, I left to move to Atlanta. I love everything that has to do with travel. I love my family. I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a friend. And in some people's faces or behind the scenes, they may see me as a foe, but I'm still blessed. Okay, I'm still praying for them. So I'm just honored to be here. It's just an amazing opportunity to share the journey that I'm going through and walking through to help and encourage other women to go and do the same things as well.
Gotcha. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your business and kind of what inspired you. Said you have a love for travel. So tell us like, your thoughts behind starting
Okay.
it.
Wow. So it really started when I was younger. My mother would always take us different places. She would make things so exciting. I mean, if we go to Stone Mountain, we're on a ride. You know, we're coming from here. When we moved to Atlanta, we would go to Stone Mountain and just kind of look at different things. She's made things exciting. Going to Tennessee. Those were just amazing opportunities. But it was something I had never done before. I had never been on a plane. And so it was it wasn't until I was in college and I was like my freshman year, this was just not it for me. Like
Mhm.
I know that this is supposed to be the thing. You're supposed to go traditional, go to school, do what you're supposed to do, go to college, get married, have the child and all that. I bucked that system very early. I was like, this is not it for me. And so I decided to become a flight attendant. And I had never been on a plane before. Never.
Okay.
All I knew is that I wanted to look cute in that outfit. And I wanted to stroll through the airport, with my bag. And, that's all I had in my head. I did not know the seriousness of what I was going to be doing because I thought it'll be just passing out chips, cookies and sodas, nothing major, but it was so much more. And that's kind of like how it is in life. We go into one thinking it's one thing and it's always something else.
Mhm.
So I started noticing that I had some issues with my walking even then, didn't know what it was, thought it was fatigue. But nevertheless, I never knew what it was. And so I had to give up my wings after 3, 4 years. I gave my wings up. And so I went into banking and in finance. So I worked for Bank of America for so many years. I loved it. It was amazing. Gave me a different opportunity to work and educate and learn and teach others. And then I went into financing. So financing was amazing. That was a more relaxed thing. But it wasn't until then that I started to notice that my walking was a little different. I was fatigued, all these different things. And I had a customer that I was taking care of. She's an elder and she was in there and she said, you need to go see a neurologist. Oh, go check a boo. Respectful. Yes, ma'am. She said, you need to go get your brain checked. Why, yes, ma'am, I am. So in that, it made me understand how even for someone to notice what was going on with my walking and all those different things, for her to say that I need to get my brain checked or go to see a neurologist, which is a neurologist. I took heed to that and I followed up with that. So that's a long story, but the end result was that I was diagnosed with MS, and that was me. And I've still am growing and having to
Mhm.
endure some of the things with MS itself. So when I got home after so many years, for a year, I was at home being, my husband's in the education field, my children were in school, and I was at home, and people were like, you could just be a stay-at-home mom. And that may have sounded like a great idea at first, like, oh, that's great. I'll just, cook a little dinner, have stuff, and, watch a little TV. But the highlight of my day was watching Judge Judy at 4 o'clock. That's when she came on. And I had to tell, I'm like, there's got to be more to life than just Judy. It really has to be. Um, and so, because I don't watch TV, but when I do, 4 o'clock, that was it. And then that's how I had a friend who said, hey, I'm in travel. You should come and do travel with me. And that's how I started. And that's where it all began.
Awesome. So you've been on this journey since what year did you start your business?
2018. And then I got it legally set up in 2019. But yes,
Awesome.
I started it wanting to book everything. I was trying to be the Oprah of travel. You need a
You get a
room, I'll
trip.
book your room. Had no design. I just wanted to book it. You get a trip. You get a trip. Where you want? You're like, you want to go down the street? Okay, get a room. And then it wasn't until I needed to find out what my niche was, what was some of the things that I liked and who I wanted to cater to. And that eventually has evolved. So I love all inclusive resort getaways. So if it's not passport ready, I'm not talking about it. It's not my thing. So I love that. I love cruises. So people go, well, do you do Disney? No, that's not my spirit. That ain't my calling. So I don't do Disney. I need a hotel around the corner. I don't do that. That ain't my spirit. That ain't my calling. So and now more importantly, I've learned that because of now that well gosh, it's been September. I'm now ambassador for the multiple sclerosis did for 17 years, and now I'm actually a representative within the association. So that's exciting, very exciting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So just to make sure, if you all are looking for a travel agent, Tiffany specified her niche is all inclusive. You have to have it first off, you got to have a passport. All inclusive
Oh
resorts,
yes, yes,
cruises.
yes.
Any other things I need to add?
That's it. And then for anyone who has special requirements, the travel aspect is not knowing that for someone like myself who's in a wheelchair, that they're missing opportunities and feel like maybe I can't go. Yes, we can go. You can go if you can budget it and plan it, make your payment. You have travel insurance that's included, which will include cancel for any reason. So that way it protects your financial expense. But just having those conversations that people may not know. They want to go to the beach, but they're thinking, my wheelchair is not going to get on the same way for the person who's in need, but the people who are also caring for them. A lot of guests are not aware that on cruises, there are hospital beds. So if you have a guest that requires a hospital bed, their room can be accommodated for that. They have oxygen tanks, they have those things. There's ways that things can be made around because we're not sure of it. We just say we just stay home. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not how we should live our life. I live it with intention and with purpose. And so that's it. And I think more so than anything for me, my grandmother was the inspiration for me because when I was started with this MS, I was walking and moving, doing all that I needed to do. But I have the most amazing angel who when I met her, saw her, my grandmother was paralyzed from the breast down. She was shot 5 times. So I literally grew up. She was the first person I saw in a wheelchair. So when the transition from going from walking and doing what I needed to do to now being fully in a wheelchair, the transition, it was not as hard as people would assume. It was because I had an example of someone, my grandmother, Freddie Mae Stokes, who exemplified and showed how to do this thing with grace and poise. And she was able to do amazing things in her from her wheelchair. So she was paralyzed, but she owned a full-fledged candy store in her 2-bedroom apartment in Walnut Hills in Macon, and never had anybody steal from her. She opened the doors at 9 a.m. in the morning, closed them at 8. Paralyzed, lived by herself. Okay, come on, like this was years
Got
ago.
all the odds, yes.
Against all the odds. And I'm not talking about, oh, she went to Piggly Wiggly and got candy. I'm talking about there were Frito-Lay trucks pulling up, Coke trucks pulling up, Pepsi trucks pulling up, like
Like a
inventory,
convenience store.
like literally. She had little Debbie's and all that stuff. It was just amazing. She had 2 refrigerators. It was just amazing how she set it up. And she had candy, but more so than just the candy, because it was never about the money. For my grandmother, it was about the interaction with the women and the children in the neighborhood who may not have had the opportunity to be able to get where they needed to go. And she was able to reach them. She also incorporated Sunday school. Honey, she had Bible study on Tuesdays because everybody was doing on Wednesdays. So she had that on Tuesdays. And so even though she was paralyzed, her children, her friends, her neighbors would get her ready, dressed, and go into the living room, and she would teach the word of God. So there were so many different things. So I think I know, ain't no thinking about it, that all that I'm going through and all that I've seen, I take pride in knowing that this is part of the legacy. This is what it's about. And so for that, I'm honored.
So like, and I'm going off script. So what
You're
was
fine.
like the transition, like when you were going from being able to walk to preparing to like be in a wheelchair? Were you like, okay, I can do this because my grandma did it? Like, were there any highs, lows, or you just like,
Oh
I'm just
gosh.
accepting it,
It
I'm
was,
just
yeah, no, seriously. It was some phases because the first phase was, okay, I'm walking, I'm doing great. And then my walking was a little off. And so I was working for a company in finance, and all my coworkers were all very close. And I went to the doctor's office, and the nurse was like, the doctor is giving you a cane. And she gave me this metal cane. And I promise you, I embarrassed myself. Well, I didn't really embarrass myself, but it's probably embarrassed everybody else in there because it was just like, I'm not walking out here with no cane. So I literally, Nurse Juanita is my nurse. And she's to this day, she's retired, but she was like, you did not, they had to escort me out. I was so traumatized. And so I called my coworkers because I was upset, and they're like, we need to call her husband and let him know, what's going on because she's driving. It's going to take about 20 minutes to get here, and she's upset. And one of my other coworkers was working there. And you know how you have people when you're in a situation, there's some people that you want to come
mm-hmm.
and just kind of, usher you in. Well, God knows that when there's a situation, he needs somebody that's going to
Put you
jar
in
you
shape.
and put you in
Mm-hmm.
shape and check you. Well, that person is who was at the time was my coworker, who I now call my brother, Ahmad. He walked out there. He said, "What you crying for?" I'm walking with a cane. He said, "It's a cane. It's a cane. We can bling it up. We can do whatever to that thing. Let's get in here. Let's use it. Let's go." And I stopped sniffling, and it was like, "You got this." And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay." And from that moment, it was like learning how to just adjust. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's partly with me having to go through a transition, being an MS ambassador, and even now going into another segue because we're having a transition. I really want to take the word disability and change it. It's already
Mm-hmm.
trademarked. I want people to see that a disability doesn't mean that I can't. It just means that I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to do it in a different way, which means I have to adjust. And adjustability is saying see my ability.
Ah, okay. So you wanted to change disability to adjustability?
I want to change it to adjustability. And it does not only cover a physical challenge. That can
Mm-hmm.
also, we need to make adjustments in our spiritual asset, our mental aspects, our attitudes, our financial ways. There's a
Mm-hmm.
way that we need to do. We have to make adjustments. Doesn't mean that you can't do it, just means that you have to find another way to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that if that one word, I think words are powerful. You tell someone they can't, then you disable, girl. You can't. I'm not going to walk
Mm-hmm.
around with anything that's going to say I'm disabled.
Mm-hmm.
I just never did. My grandmother didn't. She literally wore heels and she was sharp every time with intention. So for that, that's where I get that.
Yes. It someone mentioned in the chat that said see my ability. So I
Yes,
like that
see my ability.
adjustability.
Yes, I tell people all the time, I can get where you're going. It may take me
Mm-hmm.
a little bit differently approach and how I do it. You got the stairs. Go ahead, girls. Strut on them stairs. Do your thing. I'm over here on the ramp. I'll meet you
Mm-hmm.
there. We'll
Mm-hmm.
get
And I'll
there.
probably get there before you get there.
Hey, and if I don't, it's okay. I'm here to
We'll
lean
still
on
get
you.
there.
And trust and believe that I will cut on the dance floor with my wheelchair. It don't stop nothing. I
Love
promise
it.
you that.
I love it. So with having your business, family, all of the things, what do you
Yes,
think have been, and you seem to have a, I'm gonna figure this thing out, outlook on life,
I
but
do.
what do you do? What steps or measures that you take to get from here's my issue, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and how do I get to the place of being able to overcome? Because it starts in your head of
It
how
does.
you overcome. So
Exactly.
how do you
And
get
so
there?
how do I get there? For me, I do a lot of meditation. I
Okay.
actually kind of sit down and I pray to God, listen to my music, and I meditate. And so people are like, what? Yes. And that doesn't mean that I'm sitting here calling kumbaya and all that stuff. And in all respects, I believe that whatever floats your boat,
Mm-hmm.
floats your boat. I listen to gospel music. I listen to also some that are not gospel, but it may have a flow to it. There's got a little something,
Mm-hmm.
because I always tell my people, I'm married for 23 years. There's certain music I'm listening to my husband. He and I, and Luther is just gonna hit it. Okay, Luther's gonna hit the spot.
Yes, yes,
Take me
yes.
to the water, ain't gonna do it. I
Correct.
need Luther. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
same concept is when I'm going through something. I look at things. I always like to take the attitude of a step back and make an assessment. I don't rush about anything, and I believe that everything that comes to you, it comes to serve you. And it may, if you really sit down, you go, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead of asking why, just go, "Okay, what is this supposed to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
How is this thing, how can I change this thing for the better for me to make it work for my good? God, how are you redirecting me? Because I know what I want, but what I
Mm-hmm.
want may not be what you have destined and planned for me. And anytime I look at that, that makes it all worth it and the same. So I tell my people, it's just an example for me. I don't know the plan of my life. I knew that. How did I think that me being a flight attendant, going through the same situation I went through, having the diagnosis and all these things have really brought me back into the world of travel. But then God said, hey, there's something else that's bigger. And
Mm-hmm.
then someone positioned themselves to me. And it was like, I wasn't looking for it. They came for me. And when it did was like, this is your gift.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you realize that there's a gift that you have and you ain't gotta go buy the red bottoms to show up and act like you got it all, like come on now. Come on, y'all. Keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. If that's your thing, that's your thing, sis. Ain't nobody hating. I just want everyone to be able to be honest in where they are in the process and just to take the time.
And it took this girl from Macon who had the idea and seen there is a bigger life. Like his plan was not for you to be a lifetime flight attendant, but
No.
the skills that you learned as a flight attendant helps me to be able to navigate. Because not only have you been in the seat of flying, I have been in a place of authority, so I can
Yes,
take those skills and apply it. So it all has a purpose and a
it
plan.
does. And in banking,
Mm-hmm.
how do you talk to people about finances? How do you deal
Mm.
with a couple who's come in, or you have someone that's passed on and they need to recover the family funds? That's a tight bearing situation. That's not always a comfortable situation, or someone's account has been hacked or whatever. Those are people
Mm-hmm.
are not coming in there smiling.
Mm-hmm.
They're upset. They're frantic. How do you console them? How do you do that? And there's no perfect anything. Like even within our marriage, you know, we've been married 23 years. I love my chocolate drop. That's my man. My man, my man, my man. I love Travis Vinson. That's my man. He's been my best friend. He knows exactly what I need. But even when we have our ebb and our flows, he still just reminds me that you're not perfect, girl. So
Mm-hmm.
why do you expect everyone else to be? And so
Mm-hmm.
when I give myself the give that, it makes sense. I've also learned to take hold to your energy. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
can't be in your inner circle. And I know that sounds cliquish, but it's not. It's selfful. It's being full of yourself because you have to. You got to conserve
Mm-hmm.
your energy. And when it doesn't serve you, it doesn't matter if it's mama, daddy, cousin, sister, best friend from
Mm-hmm.
fifth grade. You got to make the assessment what's best for you. And in this season, you may have to cut back a little bit or pull back a little bit to focus on what it is that you're needing to do. And there's nothing wrong with that.
My mom always says everybody doesn't have to sit at your table. You get to decide who
Yes.
sits at your table. And at
Yes.
this time, maybe you don't get a seat.
Yeah.
It could be that in another season, another place, we can
We may see each
connect.
other in the by and by, but right now it's bye, you know, because I love
Yes.
me, you know what I mean? I love me enough to, and I think that as a society, we always put things into notion as, well, they stepped on your toes. They did this, they did that. They family, let that thing ride. It can ride for you,
Mm-hmm.
not for me. And I love them and I wish them the very best. But that's the place that's been crossed. And I don't want to open and rekindle that hurt. So you can focus, and that's even in business, not
Mm-hmm.
personal. That's in business. You have
And the
relationships with
boundaries.
there have to be boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, how have you been able to set your, as we continue to talk as far as like boundaries, how have you been able to set those boundaries when it comes to travel and you having those? Because some of us, we ain't been nowhere. We
Ah,
just got a piece of a passport and we ready to go wherever. Like, where can these $200 take me? And
ooh,
they calling Tiffany all along the journey. Like, what boundaries do you set with your clients as far as setting the expectations? Like, you can't call me while you're on the ship. Like, I'm not there. I can't help you, Billy
no,
or Kanisha or
no,
whatever your name is. So, how do you have
trust
those
me.
boundaries?
So it's amazing because I have a onboarding process. So when someone wants to get on to even talk with me, they go on my website, tripwithtiff.com. And there you're able to go in and you want to have a 15-minute call with me. This is what we're going to talk about. But there's an application, there's a process that lets me know in a questionnaire, hey, this person, they're not really ready. Because at this time, you're talking about going to Jamaica for 5 days, 4 nights, and you only pay 1,500. Those days are long gone. So I
Mm-hmm.
let them know ahead of time. Because what I want for people to understand is you don't want to, when you're going somewhere like that, there has to be an investment. So when my people come to me, the conversation is not, hey, girl, you can go. I'm not a flight attendant in that aspect to give you what you like and what you want. It's to give you the reality of what it is. And when I give you that, so that you can have that level of expectation. Um, and so in order to have the boundaries, so they're not calling all kinds of different times, I have my hours of operations, the best way to contact me, email me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time to make payments, my groups in particular, there's a payment date that's due on that date that are automatically pulled out. So 15th of the month or the 5th, whichever I think I can do, 5th or 15th. That's it. I want to do it on the 12th. That ain't how it's gonna do. Boo, hold it till the
We coming
12th
on the
because that's when
15th.
they want. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? So just have it that way because you can't go into someone else's business and tell them how to run their business. You can say what you want to say, but it ain't gonna work over here. And I think that that's the same thing is when you look at someone who's in business, be mindful of they may have some practices in place that helps to keep their life and their livelihood and their other customers aligned. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's important. And we all want to be able to provide a service, but I want to be whole too. I want to feel
Mm-hmm.
good about it. I don't want to feel like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, but in having those boundaries and having those expectations set up front makes
Mm-hmm.
everything makes it a lot smoother.
Were you able to like off rip when you started your business have these boundaries, or has it been a lesson you learned over time?
It's lesson learned over time. It's kind of like having a child. You just don't go in and think, oh, as soon as this baby here, oh, she's gonna sleep through the night. And now they're toddlers. They're just not gonna stop fighting. We got to tell them
Hmm.
no, or we say, little Billy, this is what we're gonna do, and you're gonna do this, okay? So same thing with that. I was going into it not knowing it. It also took the fact that I had to invest in coaches to help guide
Mm.
me how to set my systems up. And when you invest in that type of thing and having your team who supports you, that you also have to support, that also helps you with your boundaries and what areas that you're dealing with. So that helps certainly.
Mm. So you talk about coaches. Once again, I'm going off topic. I
Oh,
remember
you're fine.
seeing something online where they talk about for entrepreneurs, if like whatever your goal is as far as like financial goals, that you should plan to spend, tell me your thoughts on this, 10% of what your revenue. So let's just say you want to make $100,000 a year for 2025. Well, you should
Mhm.
plan to
Yeah.
invest $10,000 in your education, whether that's coaching classes and all of that, to help make sure you have those boundaries, systems, all of those things in place. What do you think about that? Do you agree, or you like, no, you need to
I
spend some
think
more?
that's
You don't need
amazing.
to, or because sometimes we just want to free
Uh-uh.
YouTube class it, or let me just send an
I
email and
used to
hope that
think
they
that
help.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I honestly thought that at first too. Like I could just do this a little bit, but honestly, to get where you're wanting to go, you have to find people who are going to really put you in place. I've had three amazing coaches. When I first started, there was one coach. She's no longer coaching anymore, but she was amazing. She got me out my shell and being able to speak and to do lives and all of those things. Whereas people didn't know, like, okay, she does well. They didn't know how nauseous I would be before or after
Uh,
or during. Now I've gotten over, it's been years. So here I am doing it better, right? And then I had someone by the name of Wendy Nicole Anderson. She's my automations person. So when I have a group, everything's automated. So what
mm,
that means is like how when you order something from Bath and Body Works, how when you order it online and then you get a verification of, hey, we placed your order. Macy said, hey, it's going to be delivered by this date. That's called automation. I didn't
hmm.
know what that was called, but all I knew is I wanted that for my clients. So I wouldn't have to constantly email, type up something every single time. I had a sequence that would go out with them. And so she helped me with that. Then I have the most amazing, all of them are amazing, but April Franks is a coach. And she's amazing because she gets right to all of them get right to it. But she's been my latest coach. And that was the biggest sacrifice for me. So much so that it didn't matter to me. I was willing to go and step out on faith to get what I need to do, learn, and from that experience. And from that experience has opened up other doors. And so that is what you're willing to do. Don't think that you're going to be able to get everything from YouTube because they
Hmm.
only give you a little bit of it. And then you still sitting there going, well, what else? You're going to have to make the investment if that's where you want to be. I find that if it's not going to throw my home off completely, I'm willing to
Hmm.
do it as far as my
Gotcha.
my my sacrifice.
So as we continue talking about the entrepreneur journey, like for
Yes.
those who are interested, whether that's travel or
Oh
however
yeah.
else, whatever the Lord has placed on their heart, like what do you recommend them doing to like start figuring out systems and what they need to get
Yeah.
what's in their head into something that is
Yeah.
real and tangible?
Yeah. So what I would do is just sit down and also think about what it is, the type of business you're going into, and don't compare yourself to the next one. I mean, like, oh, so and so's doing it. Well, my friend was doing travel as well, who brought me in. She's amazing at what she does in travel. She specialized only in Jamaica, and that is what's up. Then so you just have to figure out what it is that you're wanting to do, and it's okay to start it small. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have everything mapped out, but just start it to where you can manage it. Or if you have someone else that can help you with it. But lay out all the things, and more importantly, make sure that you have, if it's a name, if it's an idea, that you have an LLC, that you have that name or that statement, that whatever, you trademark that,
Mm-hmm.
so those are things that later on, if you decide, you could sell it. It's something that someone's going to need, or it could be your trademark. And that's exactly what I do. Trip with Tiff is the Caribbean and Cruise connection. So that's a trademark. Um, Same thing as what adjustability is, new ability. This is shaded, but it's ability. That's trademark. So you can do those things, and you can start slow. Don't feel like you have to be pressured into just having it all out. Like, I want to get a whole storefront. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's expense that you might not be ready to have. So how about we just start with having it at home and just sharing it? Like my cousin with her jewelry that she sells,
Mm-hmm.
paparazzi. It's amazing that she's able to do it in the way that she's able to do it, and there's no more pressure on that. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever that thing is that you're wanting to do, first pray on it.
Mm-hmm.
Look around to see if you have someone that can mentor you in that field, who doesn't have that spirit of, oh girl, I ain't got time. Because I get people all the time who, ask me, hey, can you, I want to get in travel. Can you teach me? And to be honest, that's not my ministry. So what I tell my
Mm-hmm.
people, I have friends who are in the agency world, who have agents, who have agents who work with them. I just don't, I've never had a desire to be like, you don't want agents? No, my, that's not my calling. So I tell people all the time, but if that's something they're wanting to do, then reach out to someone and say, hey, do you know of someone that could, guide me in, and be prepared to listen and take heed.
And so you I'm assuming over time have realized what you're good at and what you're
Oh yeah.
I don't want what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
Yes,
So I
you
can
have
say
to.
no to this and be
Yes.
okay.
And it's okay to say no. Yeah. Because people make it, well, Tiffany. Oh, yeah. I did. I
Family and
actually,
friends and all of that.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And it's like, no, no. Even within my family, I'm being honest, there's only a couple of my family members that I book.
So you set that boundary like, no, y'all not gonna
Yeah.
play with me.
Yeah. It's my mommy, my uncle. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Because the reason why is because they respect the process. My
Mm-hmm.
mother was also an entrepreneur as well. She owned a hair salon in Warner Robins, Georgia for many years. And she she handled her business like a business. She had a cash register. There was no exchange, and she put in her pocket. She had bringing you up and think she ran her business as a business. So I saw that. So when is the time for a trip? Well, Tiffany, what's your trip planning fee? My mom's paying me my trip planning fee. I give her a discount because it's family, friends, and family discount. But she pays
She
it and
respects you.
she respects it. And I find that when people respect your business and respect your process, they'll do whatever they need to do. If you give it to them free, I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it for free. They go and book it themselves and then be like, oh, well, what I mean? So to
Mm-hmm.
alleviate the craziness and it's best to keep it apart. So that's why when someone comes to me, that's what I do.
So it seems like quite a bit of your family were entrepreneurs. So did you grow up thinking like I'm gonna own a business, be a business, or were you like, no, I don't really want to do this?
I honestly did not think that. I thought I was going to be a flight attendant. I was going to be the best flight attendant. I was going to do all the things. And then when my husband put the engagement ring on, it was like, wait, I think I want to be his wife.
And so you were ready to give up the flight attendant? You were ready to give your wings?
I loved, yeah, I love him. It was hard. You're gone like maybe 4 or 5 days out the week. It was very hard. And then, the things they don't talk about is, yeah, you make good money, but it's only if you're in a flight in the air, not when the times when
Mm,
you're laid over and they're having to rebuild. So there's a lot of hours I'm away and I'm not getting paid. Yes, I'm in a nice hotel and everything, but if there's engine plane or flight or rain or weather delay, I'm not being paid for that. So you had to kind of make an assessment. He was very supportive. If that's what I wanted to do, he would have just been okay with it. But I saw that man and he said, will you marry me? I said, yes, sir. And that was all I
mm.
needed.
So okay. So then even when you decided like I didn't want to I'm not gonna be a flight attendant. Was anything in your head like I'm gonna be an entrepreneur? I'm gonna figure out what business? It
I
wasn't
went into,
until
yeah, I went into jewelry. I moved to Atlanta. I was a flight attendant and I also worked as a jewelry person for a jewelry company. My oldest sister um, was in the mall and she's like, my sister needs a job. She's flight attendant. She's applied at the time I was applying for a flight attendant position. And I went in there and I had worked before at 19 in Macon, working in Reed's Jewelers, selling, Rolex watches and things like that. I love watches. So I was like, this is awesome. So I just did it and it was amazing. I always felt like when people came in for jewelry, they didn't come in and say, hey, you know what? I don't like my man or I don't like my wife. Buy her a $10,000
Mhm.
ring. Like no one, I never saw that. So I like that. So that was fun for me. That was really the fun part. It did not turn for me until it just wasn't until I got home. I tried other things along the lines. People want to ask me to sell Mary Kay. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm not wanting to do it. I'm not doing it. I've been asked to do a lot of different things, and that's good because I can, I put my mind to it. Oh yeah, I can sell it. My bonus father always used to say, we call him Big Papa, she could sell water to a drowning man. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not a thief. I'm not a swindler, but it's just the fact that, if it's something I like and it's something that holds hard to me, then I'm going to be able to do that. So yeah.
So, how have you been able to, with health challenges, with marriage, motherhood, all of the things, how have you been able to keep a positive mindset and have that resilience, especially when it's challenging times?
Yes. That's a really good question. Me having this a moment every morning, being intentional of waking up and giving God praise, even in the midst. Like right now, I'm doing physical therapy and occupational therapy. Went in for my neurologist appointment this morning. Got signs that I have another lesion on my whole right side of my brain is, you know, has lesions like tears and things like that on my neck and my spinal cord. And I just looked at the neurologist. I was like, hey, I'm just lighting that brain up, right? It's okay. I'm here. Like it's lighting it
Mm-hmm.
up. And so I felt good about it. I make the time to be intentional. I love to listen to funny movies.
Mm-hmm.
I have the most amazing support team. My husband, my mother, my
Mm-hmm.
children, my in-laws. Well, don't they will hurt me if they hurt me say in-laws. In-laws, they are so supportive. So when you have that, my mommy, Dr. Angela Rogers, is the woman who keeps and makes the sacrifices. She lives in Warner Robins, but she drives up here and lives in the home with us Monday through Friday and works up here. And when she has a beautiful home in Warner Robins, much nicer than ours, and she made the sacrifice. And so when those moments, when you have those things, and even when you have your setbacks, because I've had them, because I don't want to front and act like I didn't. So let me just tell you why, how. I was starting back my walking journey to start back walking physical therapy, and this was last year. And the goal was to take 77 steps, girl. I get 77 steps. My physical therapist, you got to get it. First day, I did 44. I was like, yes, I'm on this thing. My husband got me these grip socks to help because in the floors when they're here in the kitchen and living room, the floors hard floors and cement. So he was like, I need you to make sure you have grips so you don't slip.
Mm-hmm.
So later on that night, get out of the shower and I just put the grip socks back on. Like I wasn't even thinking about it. Just put the grip socks back on. Was not the smartest thing. I walked from the bathroom, which is concrete on the floor, to the carpet. I took 3 steps and it cracked my ankle. Broken it in two, split the back of that bone in the heel. I dropped to the floor and I screamed. My mom comes running out. The boys come running out. My husband's trying to pick me up. And I'm like, no, let me stay. And he could not understand. why I wanted to stay on that ground. I needed to feel that. And I kept
Mm-hmm.
telling him, let me feel it. He was like, he could not understand what I said. I need this. Let me feel it. If I want to scream at this moment, let me feel it. So I got a moment. He scooped me up after I had my moment. It hurt like I've never hurt. I'd rather have go through another labor. And so we get to the doctors and it's broken. Long story short. And I realized I'm back at zero. 44 steps, back at zero. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna boot and everything. So hubby gets here and he's like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. We're gonna do this and do that. And I just cried. And that was the longest cry. I felt so I just didn't hit what I need to hit. So I got in the shower that night and that was October 3rd. That's my fur baby crying because somebody's crying. My mom is pulling her, someone's pulling her. So I remember getting there and in the shower and I was crying. And at that very moment, I thought, what would be, what if I weren't here anymore? If I wasn't a burden? Now I ain't saying I had it all out planned out, y'all, because I don't have no gun and I certainly am not gonna cut myself because that's a little bloody and that's messy. So it's not like that, but just the scenario of what if if I wasn't a worry for them? If I did, they'd have to be concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And so in doing that, hold on, mommy. And so in doing that, it made me understand that it was the lowest point. It
Mm-hmm.
really was the lowest point. And so use my Chloe. Um, it was the lowest point. And in having that be that way, it it changed me. And it wasn't until I had to go to Mexico that my friend was like, I was like, I'm not going. She's like, oh, yes, the heck you are. You're going to Mexico. There's a big conference there and you're going to go. And so when she did, we were like, okay, I got there and it was what I needed. It was exactly what I needed. I had a big old boot on my foot, on my ankle, and here we are. And so it just reminded me, and I have a video of when I was out taking photos, and it just hit me that I'm okay. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have your moments. Some that are gonna come out of nowhere, and you're gonna be like, "What? I didn't see that. That went in my plan."
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the plan is written, and it's not for you to know everything. And he needed me to get my attention. I was there with a friend who literally was there to help me, change me,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. And I'm very private. I'm like, girl, I can watch myself. Y'all need you watch me. She was willing to do all those things for me. And that's when you realize, like, you got to humble yourself. And so I'm back on it.
And you have to allow people to help you. How do you handle
Oh, that was a
having
transition.
to now, I'm assuming, fully independent? I'm not sure if you need more assistance now or you just like, I'm gonna figure this out on my own. But like how was that transition? Because sometimes we don't like all of that.
It has been an adjustment. And can I be totally honest and sincere with you all? I just had a scenario yesterday. Now my husband works, my mom's works, my boys are at college. One's in college, one works, he works nights. So, and they're men, 22 and 21, right? But I'm home and I'm working through the day and I still have bowel situations I have to take care of, bowel movements. I have to go to the potty, da 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 da. And I'm not still recovering from being my heel. I'm going through physical therapy, not quite able to stand on my own by myself yet. What do you
Mm-hmm.
do when there's a situation that you have to go? Chloe, she's just being extra. What do you do in that situation? So
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, as a matter, my 21-year-old, mommy, I got you. It was very humbling to be able to ask that, and he not make me feel any kind of way about it.
Because I'm sure
So
he
that's
didn't
what I
feel
tell
any
people.
way. He didn't feel a way to that's
No,
like this. My mom. I'm just gonna help her. But in your head, you like, but what? I don't want him to.
yeah, I was very like, had to make sure I picked my poopery. I could, I would spray the poop. you know, make sure I'm covered, so he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
see bottom half. But he had to stand, I had to hold on him while he helped pull. And it was like, okay, so there's a way. And that's what I tell people. That's that adjustability again. That's where it comes, where you got to make the adjustments to make yourself live. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's clearly the what that is about.
And it also, you had to have faith in him that he
Yes.
would, take care of you and just, be there, that support that you needed in that time.
Yes. Yes. They all are. And like I told you, it's just amazing how we have those who make the sacrifices, and that's what it's about. And when it's okay to ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. And some people are like, I don't want nobody in my business. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the few that you trust.
Yes. So then what about those who, because you said that you are an ambassador, where
Yes.
do you find the resources, and where do you, like, maybe it's somebody who's having the tingling or having the, like, my walking isn't right, I'm just not fit, like, where do I start, where do I go to find my tribe, find the person who's going to say, hey, we're going to Mexico, like, what do
Right.
you do?
So with the MS, if they're having those symptoms, yeah. So in my situation was being an ambassador for the MS, it came in my lap. This lady, the president of the MS Society, literally saw me on LinkedIn, and I'm hardly ever on LinkedIn, and she saw me there. And feelings and not quite certain as to what's going on with them. Is it MS or anything? Because MS, multiple sclerosis, literally has over 50 symptoms. So,
Mm,
and one person is not the same. So I know plenty of guests or patients who live with MS and they are completely fine. They just have fatigue. They don't have the same thing as with me. Mine affects my walking and it affects my vision from time to time. The most eye-opening experience was when I lost my vision for the first time when I first got diagnosed. Each time I lost it for 7 days. And in losing it for those 7 days, I was able to see things more clearly. And people think that's the weirdest thing to say, but it's so very true.
hmm.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you saying, like, when your vision came back, it came back clearer, or are you
No,
saying
it's
when you didn't have vision,
when I
you
didn't
could
have
see?
vision, see clear. So what that means is like what we take for granted. I was able to see things in a different perspective, not
Mm-hmm.
see as in see in a different perspective. And so when it was came back and when it was renewed again, it was like I no longer sweat the small stuff.
Mm. To say your senses are heightened. So, like, if
Oh
you're
yes,
blind, you can now hear better. I can
I can
feel and
hear
all of,
better.
because you have.
I can
I got
sense. Yeah, you sense, and then
you.
you kind of just go, because he gives us those abilities anyway, right? Discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have different gifts and things of that nature, but for me, it was heightened because it's like, oh, you show me, I got you.
Awesome. So, how do you use your experiences? Because you have the personality to uplift and inspire others.
Ah, how do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that comes from my grandma Freddie May, my mother, Dr. Angela Rogers, my great grandmother, SMA Durham. It's if you look at all the women, Miriam,
Yes.
they're the women, and she was always considered a princess to me, my cousin Miriam. Um, she's, and she still is. And so it's because there's a certain fortitude that a person
Mm-hmm.
carries. Not that doesn't mean everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
certain family members or certain people carry that fortitude, and she does. So I don't
Awesome.
think it's me.
It is you. You are alike. Because as soon as we started talking, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy." And you came in automatically with the inspiration and with the warmth. So I definitely
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Last two questions. If
Yes.
someone is interested in your services, how can they contact you? Oh, she went away. Hopefully she'll come right back. the mind freeze. Well, hopefully Tiffany will be able to rejoin us. But I hope you all are enjoying the conversation thus far. Yes, Miriam, she is definitely a light. I've enjoyed working with her as we partnered to plan this upcoming Grace Gathering. While I wait for Tiffany to rejoin, tell me in the chat if you've registered already. If you haven't, remember you can go to wograce.com and you can register today. Early registration has ended, but we still have general registration open. And I'll give it a minute or so to see if Tiffany is able to rejoin us. Okay, here she goes. She's back.
Apology, girl.
It's okay. It is okay.
It
Technology will technology.
will do what it do. You said you had 2 more questions. I got you.
Yes. So tell us again your niche as far as travel. So if people are interested in your services, how they can contact you.
Okay. So I am Tiffany Vinson of Trip with Tiff Travel. You can certainly reach me, contact me at tripwithtiff.com. There you can look and see exactly what it is that you're needing. I provide all-inclusive resort getaways, transfers, great packages if you're wanting to do that. But I also love cruises, all-inclusive resort cruises for adults. That is really my thing. So you need to get in contact with me. You can also email me at info@tripwithtiff.com.
Awesome. Okay, so if y'all are looking for a trip, 2025, if you want to spend New Year somewhere, I don't know if you can do it that quickly, but for the end of the year, make sure you go to tripwithtiff.com.
Yes.
She has lots of great resources, and you're going to follow her boundaries of filling out her form and all of the processes because we're going to take this serious because travel is an investment.
Yes, ma'am.
And my last question, Women of Grace, we spell grace. We have an acronym. It's PFS, Prayer, Fellowship, and Service. And at the heart of our ministry is prayer. Some of our members, they call